In today's video, we will be going through an action thriller film titled 15 Minutes of War. There will be spoilers ahead, so sit back and enjoy the movie. The story begins in 1976. Gary, a bus driver in Djibouti, picks up students who are heading to school. One of the children, Louise, happily greets Gary with her usual cheerful smile. Some of the kids are laughing and having fun on the bus, while others remain quiet and reserved. Suddenly, an African man named Barsad points a pistol at Gary and orders him to stop the bus just as the driver is about to continue forward. A group of armed men boards the bus and announces that it is being hijacked. A father standing nearby notices what is happening and starts shouting at the moving bus. Meanwhile, Jane, the children's teacher, is preparing for class. After waiting for a long time, she finally enters the classroom and wonders why the students have not arrived yet. She walks into the classroom next door and asks another teacher how many students are absent from her class. The teacher replies that 4 students are missing. However, Jane realizes that all of her students are absent. At the same time, Gary continues driving the bus under Barkad's orders. One of the students asks whether they are still going to school. Barkad suddenly strikes the child in the face, terrifying everyone on the bus. Enraged, Barkad orders everyone to stay seated and remain silent. He warns them that anyone who tries to create trouble will be killed. Gary looks into the rearview mirror and notices a military vehicle following them. He attempts to call for help, but Barkad threatens to shoot him if he does not speed up. The hijacker pressures Gary to drive faster. Moments later, the armed men begin firing at the vehicle behind them, making the children even more frightened. Gary increases the speed in an attempt to escape. Meanwhile, the military orders the border guards to close the border immediately. The guards block the road and fire warning shots to stop the bus. As Gary tries to restart the engine, the bus loses balance and comes to a halt. The engine refuses to start. Barkad becomes furious after realizing that the borders have been sealed. Still pointing his gun at Gary, he orders him to leave his seat. Barsad then informs the military that there are hostages on board the bus. Meanwhile, the situation is reported to the French authorities. At the same time, Andre, a member of a special task force, is at the hospital with his wife and daughter, who is recovering from appendicitis surgery. Despite the situation with his family, Andre is called in to assist with the rescue mission. Soon, Andre and the other members of the special task force head toward Djibouti for the operation. One of the soldiers, Lorca, shows the group a ring that he plans to use to propose to his girlfriend after the mission is over. Pierre does not seem very interested, so Lorca puts the ring away and continues spending time with the rest of the team. Lorca asks George if he has ever been to Africa and what it is like there. George replies to Lorca's question while the team prepares to leave on a commercial plane. Meanwhile, Jane is informed about the situation involving her students. She quickly rushes to the hostage site. When the captain asks who she is, Jane explains that she is the teacher of the hostages and offers to help negotiate with the hijackers. Soon, a general arrives at the scene and orders Jane to leave the area. Ignoring the warning, Jane secretly moves closer to the bus. The captain tries to stop her, but it is already too late. She has reached the hijacked bus. At this point, there are now 22 hostages, including the teacher. One of the hostages remains trapped inside with the hijackers. As Jane attempts to approach the bus, Barkad orders her to stay back. Jane introduces herself as the student's teacher and explains that she is American, not French. She insists that she wants to stay with her students on the bus. After some hesitation, Barkad finally agrees. The moment Jane enters the bus, she immediately checks on the children and asks if anyone is hurt. She also asks whether anyone is hungry or needs to use the bathroom. Every student raises their hand. Meanwhile, the French Special Task Force arrives in Djibouti and begins preparing for the mission. The team heads toward the hostage location in military 4-wheel drive vehicles. As evening arrives, the rescue operation has still not begun. Inside the bus, Jane continues taking care of the students and monitoring their condition. While checking on each child, notices Bernard, the boy who was struck in the face earlier by Barkad. Jane comforts Bernard and promises that his injury will be treated. After seeing the wound, Jane confronts Barkad about attacking the child. Barkad coldly responds that the boy will survive. Jane demands that Bernard be released so he can receive medical treatment. In response, Barsad points a gun at Jane's chest and threatens her life. Jane is forced to follow his orders and return to the bus. Meanwhile, the French Special Task Force finally reaches the hostage location. The general greets the team and asks who the captain is. Andre steps forward and introduces himself. The rest of the Special Task Force members are then escorted to their quarters. The general asks Andre if he is the son of Colonel Gerval. After Andre confirms it, the general asks about his father. Andre sadly explains that his father passed away the previous year. Later that night, Andre and his teammates return to their quarters after preparing and loading their weapons. At the same time, the general and Andre begin planning the rescue mission for the students. Andre is tasked with finding safe positions for the snipers and setting up weapons in case the hijackers make any dangerous moves. During the discussion, Andre also reviews information about the hijackers. According to the general, the rebel group wants Djibouti to become part of Somalia once again. The hijackers issue an ultimatum to the authorities. They warn that if their demands are not met within 24 hours, they will begin killing the students. A few hours before sunset, one of the guards reports movement inside the bus to the general. Using binoculars, the general observes the hijackers and notices notices that they appear to be preparing for something. As time continues to run out, the rescue team decides to prepare for action. Andre orders his squad to stay alert and be ready to respond to any threat immediately. Philip and Lorca take sniper positions in the field, while Andre and the captain search the area for safe hiding spots and weapon placements. Meanwhile, Andre separates from the captain and quietly moves closer to the bus. At the same time, Jane asks the hijackers if she can step outside to relieve herself. One of the armed men escorts her. Jane is shocked when she suddenly sees Andre nearby. Andre quickly signals her to stay silent before the hijacker notices him. When the hijacker approaches, Jane lies and claims she was frightened by a snake. Just as she returns to the bus, the military suddenly shines powerful lights toward the vehicle. The bright lights briefly expose Andre's position to the hijackers. Andre immediately retreats and heads back to the quarters. Meanwhile, Pierre and Georges inspect the camp and demand that the lights be turned off. The guards question Georges about his identity, and the team reveals that they are members of a French special task force. The guards mock Georges by calling him an old man and ignore their requests. The situation quickly becomes tense when the guards accuse the two men of being rebels. One of the guards suddenly punches Georges across the face while Lieutenant Pierre attempts to explain the situation. The guard remains suspicious of them. After recovering from the hit, Georges fights back and attacks the guard. Elsewhere, Andre confronts the general about the bright lights. However, the general refuses to turn them off. When Andre asks for the general's assessment of the area, the general explains that the terrain is too flat, making it difficult to find proper cover. Andre suggests a risky strategy, but the general immediately questions the plan. Despite the concerns, Andre believes there is no better option available. Later, Jane steps outside the bus and smokes a cigarette. Barkhad approaches her while she is distracted. He asks Jane why she is there, but she refuses to reveal anything. Barkhad tells her that someone like her does not belong in Somalia. Jane responds that she will stay beside her students no matter what happens. During the conversation, Jane learns that Barkhad once worked as a teacher himself. Meanwhile, Andre returns to the quarters and explains the rescue plan he discussed with the general. The soldiers prepare for the mission by loading bullets into their weapons and getting ready for an assault. Soon after, one of the guards informs Andre that he has received a phone call from Paris. Andre speaks with Michel, the commander of the French Special Task Force. Michel instructs Andre to report everything about the hijacking situation. Although she wants the hostage crisis resolved quickly, she reminds Andre that they must follow diplomatic procedures while negotiating with the Somali hijackers. For the time being, Michel instructs Andre and the general to keep their communication lines open in case another signal arrives. Even though Michel orders the mission to remain on hold, Andre and his team decide to move forward with their plan. The following day, they prepare to carry out the strategy they discussed the night before. Andre tells his team to hold their positions until he gives the signal to fire at their assigned targets. The squad patiently waits for instructions from Paris. Despite the intense heat, they continue monitoring the situation inside the bus. Meanwhile, soldiers deliver food to the students and try to convince Barkhad to negotiate peacefully. Jane also attempts to persuade him to cooperate. Eventually, the hijackers agree to release Bernard, the injured student. However, Barkhad refuses to lower his weapon. Sensing danger, Jane tells the students to cover their ears. Suddenly, chaos breaks out. Ignoring the soldiers' orders, Barkhad opens fire and shoots one of them. The injured soldier is quickly taken back to headquarters for treatment. Meanwhile, Andre and his team argue over the failed response to the hijackers' gunfire. Inside the bus, Jane warns Barkhad that Bernard's condition is getting worse. She explains that the boy urgently needs medical treatment because his wound has become infected. Barkhad shows no concern and simply laughs at her warning. Later, another Somali rebel arrives and informs Barkhad that transportation is ready and the children will soon be moved from the bus. After monitoring the situation for hours, Andre and his team return to headquarters for food, water, and further discussion. Andre is shocked when the general suggests canceling the mission. The general explains that Paris would have already given permission if they truly intended to launch an operation after the soldier was shot. Andre argues that his squad only has 3 or 4 hours left before the hijackers transfer the children away. He warns that if they wait any longer, the hostages may disappear into Somalia. Soon after, Jane and Bernard arrive while Andre and another sniper discuss possible firing positions. The hijackers temporarily allow Bernard to leave the bus so his injury can be treated. The boy receives water and medicine for his wound. During the moment, Andre questions Jane about the hijackers, their weapons, and their plans. Jane reveals that the hijackers intend to move everyone to Somalia during the night. After hearing this, Andre explains the rescue plan to her and assures her that they will try to evacuate the students safely. Later, Andre's squad returns to their positions to monitor the movement around the bus. Jane also returns to the bus to continue helping the students. Meanwhile, Andre realizes that more armed rebels will soon arrive to assist with transporting the hostages. Knowing time is running out, the team prepares for immediate action. The soldiers quietly repeat their attack code and prepare to fire, but each sniper must first get a clear view of their target. As another vehicle approaches the hijackers, Andre radios the general and asks for permission to shoot. The general refuses the request. He warns Andre that opening fire without official authorization would be considered an act of war. Andre gathers his team and explains the situation. Night is approaching, and the hijackers are preparing to leave for Somalia with the students. Andre knows that attempting a rescue mission now is extremely risky. Despite the danger, the rest of the team agrees to move forward with the operation. Andre informs the general that all units should prepare for action. Moments later, Andre changes the attack code from 5 to 0, signaling the start of the assault. Within seconds, 5 hijackers, including Barkad, are shot dead. However, a few armed men survive and begin searching for the source of the gunfire. The remaining hijackers panic as they try to understand where the shots are coming from. Inside the bus, Jane quickly wakes the students and prepares them to escape. Although Andre's team gains an early advantage, the hijackers' allies soon begin firing back. Heavy gunfire erupts across the area, terrifying Jane and the children. Andre orders his soldiers to fire only at armed targets. A fierce battle breaks out. Pierre, Georges, and Lorca rush toward the bus to rescue Jane and the students. Meanwhile, Andre and Philip provide sniper cover for the rescue team. After intense fighting, the gunfire finally begins to slow down. Believing the rescue mission is complete, the team starts evacuating the children. However, Georges suddenly notices that Louise has been shot and is bleeding. The realization leaves Andre, Jane, and the entire team devastated. The movie ends with the injured survivors receiving medical treatment back at the military quarters after the brief but deadly 15-minute battle. The general declares the mission a success. However, Andre cannot accept the outcome because one of the students lost her life during the rescue. Meanwhile, the surviving children are finally reunited with their parents. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more movie recap videos and support the channel's growth.